at Accenture and also at a health system, and has a lot of practical experience and knowledge to share with us. So very, very excited and happy to have Bhagavad speak with us today at the glorious Bhagavad Gita. And of course, after class, please do not leave without honoring Krishna Prasad, which will be served here in the hall just next door, which will take place right after today's class. Hare Krishna.
Jai Ram Jai Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, no more people have come in. How many are here for the first time today to the temple? Welcome. I'll just start with saying thank you to the temple management for giving me this opportunity to speak today, specifically for who's sitting right here in the front, who didn't really give me a choice, but thank you because this opportunity is really for my benefit. As a speaker, I think I benefit more than you do. And I just pray that I am able to give you some, share something today that will help you in your life or in your spiritual journey. So thank you very much. It is said that thousands and thousands of eons ago, the Ganga appeared in the universe because Lord Bhagavad, who is the dwarf incarnation of Lord Krishna, he pierced the universe and the causal ocean. The waters flowed down, and they came basically flowing down, washing the Lord's lotus feet, and then entered into this world as the Ganges. Therefore, it said that if you bathe in the Ganga, then the flow of the Ganga will take you all the way back to the lotus feet of the Lord. But then commentators say later on, in the age of Dwapara Yuga, the same Ganges water flowed from the mouth of Krishna when he spoke about the Gita to Arjuna. And therefore, whoever bathes their mind and consciousness in the words of the Gita, then the flow of the words of the Gita will take you back to the smiling face of Krishna. Then the commentators say that in this age, which is Kali Yuga, the Ganges doesn't flow just from the mouth of Krishna or from the lotus feet of Krishna, but the Ganga flows from the lotus eyes of the Lord, because Krishna comes in this age as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is standing gloriously right behind me. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he chants the Harinam Sankirtan. Then there are tears of joy that are streaming from his eyes, and that is said to be non-different from the flow of the Ganga. So in this age, definitely you should bathe in the Ganga, and you should definitely bathe in the words of the Gita. But if you bathe in the love of the Harinam Sankirtan, the Brahma Kirtan, which is the Mahamantra of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Then by bathing in that Kirtan, also you can come face to face with the Lord. So like this, the Bhagavad Gita is given to us for not just to study, but we have to try and enter into the flow of the Bhagavad Gita. We have to walk with the words of the Gita, and we have to instill these words in our heart. That is why Krishna has given us these beautiful verses that are contained in the Bhagavad Gita. And today I'm going to read one of these verses. It's in chapter 2, and it's verse 14. Matra sparshasta konteya shitoshna sukadukataha agama paira vidyas tam titikshas bharata. The translation reads, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of the winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Purport written by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magh, which is January through February. It is very cold at that time, but in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of the summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principle of the Kshatriyas, and although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge, because by knowledge and devotion only can one liberate himself from the clutches of Maya, which is illusion. The two different names of address given to Arjuna are also significant. To address him as Gautaya signifies his great blood relations from his mother's side, and to address him as Bharata signifies his greatness from his father's side. From both sides, he is supposed to have a great heritage. A great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of duties. Therefore, he cannot avoid fighting. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Bhaktistam Stavikam Veda Buddhave Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tatati Swapadantikam Vanderam Shri Guru Shri Davatakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagaratam Saganara Gunadam Vidam Sachitam Sadaitam Sadhutam Vajna Sritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Radha Sadara Bhavita Shri Shakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Nirabandho Jagadpade Opesha Opika Kanda Namaste Raptaman Shalomanti Yavayamahanichve Sushamanusute Vivi Parahami Haripriye Vanshakapadunyasya Krivasindu Kevacha Parinama Vidyo Vaishnavyo Namo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Srimad Gaura Bhakta, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, does anyone know the title of chapter 2? Contents of the Gita summarized. And I heard a really neat acronym from Swami Bhagavad Maharaj. So he said that the second chapter of the Gita can be summarized with the acronym Gita, G-I-T-A. And G stands for Guru. Because the first thing that happens in the second chapter is that Arjuna approaches Krishna. And what does Arjuna say? He says, I'm confused. Krishna, please become my guru. So, in the beginning of spiritual life, you can never understand anything about spiritual life unless you first go to a guru or a teacher or a spiritual master. In the beginning, you must take shelter of someone who knows science. And the root cause of the birth of devotion is the association of those who know. So, G stands for guru, and Krishna is approached by Arjuna. And what is the first thing that Krishna taught in the second chapter? He teaches about his identity, the eternal nature of the soul. So I is identity. I, for identity, is there because there is the difference of the soul and the temporary body. We are not this temporary body, we are the eternal soul. The soul is not born, and it's never slain. When the body is slain, the soul still exists. It is eternal. And then T stands for two dharmas. Everyone has a swadharma, which is your duty in this world because you have this body and mind. But you simultaneously have a second duty, which is your sanatana dharma, and it's your duty as a soul. And then A stands for Atmaram. Krishna says to Arjuna that if you follow your two duties perfectly, you become Atmaram, which means one who is a selfless soul and one who has happiness within. So now you know why the second chapter is Gita. G-I-T-A is the acronym. And the contents of the Gita summarized because it tells you the journey of spiritual life from the beginning to the middle to the end. And it summarizes the whole journey of the Gita. Now coming back to chapter 2 and the verse that we just read, the setting is the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna has Krishna as his charioteer. And basically Arjuna is asking him, let's reverse roles. Instead of you taking orders from me driving my chariot, I want you to give me orders. See, Arjuna was very close to Krishna. In proximity in the whole first chapter, and up until now, he's been sitting with him in the chariot. But he is still confused and he's bewildered. He has no idea what to do because he's in this battle where he has to fight his relatives, his friends, his teacher, and he does not want to do that. So he's depressed. He doesn't know what he should do with his life. And how can it be true that he's in this condition with Krishna sitting right next to him? But having Krishna so close to you doesn't necessarily solve all your problems. It's advantageous to have Krishna there, but you have to inquire, you have to hear. You have to hear from Krishna. You have to hear from Guru. In the first chapter, again, Arjuna has been perplexed. He doesn't know what to do. So finally, in this chapter, he's going to ask Krishna. He's going to ask his advice, and he's going to hear. And that's the difference between being close to Krishna and actually hearing from Krishna. So Krishna is going to speak this Bhagavad Gita. He's going to convince Arjuna about the purpose and the need for this battle. And it's very important that we understand and we are convinced whenever we have anything that we're doing in life, what is our purpose? Because we need the strength, ability, and inspiration to overcome any obstacles that come in our path across the journey that we have to take. I homeschooled my 3 children, and it was a decision that my husband and I made. My daughter, my oldest was in kindergarten. It wasn't, homeschooling was something I never really even heard about. I didn't know anyone who homeschooled. It was a foreign concept to me, and it felt like such a burden that I was going to be responsible for the education of 3 children. And in Indian society, people we spoke to, when we mentioned it, didn't even know what homeschooling was. Like, what were you talking about? But it was something that I knew that we made this decision, and it was the right decision for our family. So I had to be very convicted in my belief that this was the right thing to do. I had to have that strength, because throughout the journey, there were people who wondered, why was I staying home? Why did I give up my college degree? Particularly my parents were disappointed. And now I see having 3 kids pretty much in college, the tuition that I'm paying. I can see how they were disappointed that I was just basically staying home and then doing this education for my kids. But that was the purpose. That was my purpose, I felt at the time, that this was the best thing for our children. And that is what helped us through the journey. So Arjuna was one of the greatest warriors. He shot an arrow when he was trying to win the hand of his wife Draupadi. He was the only one who successfully shot an arrow through the eye of a fish that was revolving just by the wind reflection in the water. He was trained by the Devas. He was the son of Indra. He had so many celestial weapons. Yet he had all this skill, and he's sitting here bewildered in the middle of the battlefield. So though he had the skill, he didn't have the will. He didn't have the will to fight. So the Gita was spoken by Krishna to reignite his will in Arjuna. And when you have the will but not the skill, it sometimes leads to depression. And one of the first antidepressants in history is the Bhagavad Gita. The first word spoken by Krishna is "do not lament" in the 2nd chapter, I believe in verse 11. And then in the end, in chapter 18, those are also the last words he speaks. He says, "Abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. And basically, I will free you from all lamentation." So we begin with "do not lament" and end with "do not lament." And the entire message of Bhagavad Gita is to help us get free from this lamentation. The transcendental sound vibration of Krishna Katha, or talking about and hearing about Krishna, is to free us from these 3 things. Moha, which is illusion, Shuka, which is lamentation, and Bhaya, which is fear. Our society is in a state of great disease and despair, so the message of the Gita is very critical. It is a book of transcendental knowledge. And what is the first philosophical instruction that Krishna gave Arjuna? The first thing he instructs him was in the verse we just read, 2:14. He instructs him to tolerate. And this verse describes the glories of tolerance. Without forgiveness and tolerance, it is impossible to do anything, and relationships suffer. So Krishna says so basically if you have to fight, there are 4 levels that we're motivated by. One is we're motivated by fear, there's motivation by desire or greed, third is motivation by duty, and fourth, motivation by love. And what do you think is the most powerful? Love. So be able to be motivated by these higher powers, or the higher levels of duty and love, one has to have tolerance. In this verse, Krishna is very beautifully explaining how we can develop tolerance. We have 5 senses: sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. And then we have 5 sense objects. From the eyes, we can see form. From ears, there's sound. From nose, smell. From tongue, there's taste. And skin, there's touch. We have the expectation that every interaction of these senses with the sense objects should produce pleasure, correct? When there's no pleasure, we get distressed. So for an example, many of you have maybe traveled to India or overseas, had a layover in Europe. Lately, when we've been going, we stop in the airport duty-free. And there, we go straight to perfumes. And when we go to perfume, I'm smelling all perfume, I'm going to, put some on because I have another 10 to 12 hours, I want it to smell really nice. On the plane, because we haven't showered in so long. So I'll smell a perfume, and it'll smell so nice, and I spray it on, and suddenly the smell changes. It doesn't smell so nice anymore. And I'm in distress now because, okay, for the next 10 to 12 hours, I have this scent that I can't get off of me. And whoever's going to be sitting around me is just going to have to deal with it. Another example is you have soup. When you are hungry, maybe there's a nice bowl of soup sitting in front of you, you can't wait, it smells so good, it's going to taste so good, you're hungry, you take that first sip, ouch, it's burning hot and burns your tongue, distress. The eyes are used to seeing a certain form, and when not as expected, we get morose. Online images and pictures, movies, they show near perfect people, and we have this expectation that we should also look the same. And when we don't have the same result, we get distressed. We have to understand that our eyes will come in contact with all kinds of images, some pleasurable and some not so very pleasurable, and even distressing. But we have to deal with it. We cannot walk around all day with a blindfold on. As far as ears, we always expect people to glorify us. How nice is it when we hear praise about something we've done, something we're wearing, something we've cooked? When we hear praise, we're so happy. But when we hear criticism, it's just the opposite. There's pain in the heart. We're not perfect. Only Krishna is. So how can we expect to hear praise all the time? We have to be able to tolerate criticism. There's an example of Krishna. He's criticized by Shishupal. Shishupal was given a benediction that he could criticize up to 100 times and nothing would happen. So he would criticize 99 times and then stop. He was very organized in his blasphemy. So Krishna demonstrates even he appears to also be subject to criticism. Once someone told Srila Prabhupada that no matter what I do, I'm criticized. I do good service, I'm criticized. I don't do so good service, I'm criticized. Srila Prabhupada said that in a previous life, you must have been glorified many times when you didn't earn it. So now you're being criticized, even when you didn't get to comment. Once a couple came to Srila Prabhupada and started complaining that my wife is always criticizing. And the wife said, he's always shouting and screaming. So Srila Prabhupada said, okay, you can fight, but don't shout. After a couple months, they came back, and Srila Prabhupada asked, how is your marriage now? They said, everything is very peaceful, Srila Prabhupada. He asked, what happened? Well, we tried fighting without shouting, but there was no fun in that. So we stopped fighting. So speech can be so powerful. Once there was a beggar who came to someone's home, and he saw a man gardening outside. And he said, sir, what a beautiful garden you have. The homeowner shouted into the house, and he said, my dear wife, please bring that gold chain. And then the beggar said, he noticed his car, and he said, wow, sir, you have such a nice car. And then the homeowner said, he called to his wife, my dear wife, bring that gold bracelet. And the beggar was excited. He said, sir, your home is the best on the block. The homeowner said, my dear wife, please bring 1 lakh rupees. So the beggar thought, that was more than enough for today. I'm just going to wait. So he waited, and after some time, he said to the homeowner, sir, what happened? The gold bracelet, the gold chain, the 1 lakh rupees. You shouted inside to your wife, and it hasn't come. Homeowner said, see, how did you please me? With words. How did I please you? With words. What's the big deal? We don't realize the power of our words. Just by our speech, we can conquer someone's heart. And just by our speech, we can also break people's hearts. There's an example of Bhagavad with Dhruva Maharaj. He was so brokenhearted by insulting words from his stepmother, Sri, that this 5-year-old boy went all alone into the forest just to meditate on the Supreme Lord because he desired a kingdom greater than his grandfather. So we never know how our words will come across when interacting with others, or that our interactions with others will always be pleasurable. If you want an example, just come to my home. You'll see firsthand any interaction between my Prabhu and myself and my Prabhu. I'll be giving orders, and I think it's very pleasurable to tell him what to do, but he's on the receiving end, and he's just in misery. The same thing with the tongue. Whatever comes in contact with the tongue, it may be pleasurable, or it may produce pain. Many years ago, I made an offering for a festival. There was a really good strawberry bread that I had not made in quite some time. So I thought I'd make that to offer to HG Adi Gaurangi. And afterwards I went into the deity kitchen because I wanted to get some of the maha after it came off of the altar. And I saw that Prabhu had a piece of the bread on his plate. So I told him, oh, Prabhu, that is my offering that I made. The strawberry bread is really good. You'll enjoy it. And so when I got home, I wanted to try, and because I hadn't had it so long, I took 1 bite, and there was no taste. I had forgotten to put in the sugar. So I thought, okay, maybe the other slice will have no taste, just no taste, no sugar there. I thought maybe sometimes we eat something sweet, and when we eat another thing that's sweet, it counteracts it. That wasn't the case either. So if the main ingredient is missing, how is it going to ever give any pleasure? Every contact our senses experience has the potential for misery. Krishna says in Bhagavad 5.22, Yehi samsparsha javoga dukkha yonaya evate adyanta bhanta konteya nati shurvate vitaha. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. When senses contact with sense objects, then in due course of time there is misery, and an intelligent person knows this. The art of tolerance is centered around this understanding that yes, in due course of time, I'm going to experience distress. There's not always going to be joy. When you are fully aware that any sense interaction can either produce joy or distress, then that gives you the ability to deal with the situation when it arises. Prabhupada was on a morning walk in Venice Beach, and the devotees were exclaiming, Srila Prabhupada, the ocean looks so beautiful, doesn't it? And Srila Prabhupada responded, yes, from a distance, but when you go near the ocean, it will pull you and drag you down. That is how material energy will lay the trap. You take one step, and nothing happens, so you think, let me take another step. Let me take one more, nothing happens. Let me take one more. And then suddenly you will be caught and trapped. So therefore, in this particular verse, Krishna is saying, Matra sparshas konteya, sitoshna sutta bhutata. Sometimes it will be hot, sometimes cold. Sometimes you will get happiness, sometimes you get distress. When you eat yogurt bites, sometimes you get chilly, sometimes you get sweet. Both will come. So now if you know that in advance, then you won't be bewildered by experiences just as the season will change. Agama, it will come. Abhayana, it will go. Anityaha, it is temporary. So if one is going through a bad phase, there is no need to feel morose or dejected, because one knows that this will pass. Some of you may have heard this story. There once was a powerful king who wanted a way to stay balanced and wise. So he asked his ministers to create a magic object that would make him happy when he was sad and sad when he was happy. For months, these ministers searched for such an object, but they could not find anything that could change a person's heart in both directions. So finally, a simple jeweler came with a ring, and on the ring was an inscription. And it said, "This too shall pass." So we should have full faith that this phase will also pass. Temporary and circular nature should give us hope that yes, one will go through happiness and distress, but with the foundation of this knowledge, one will have the strength to tolerate. Here, we've lived in Detroit, many of us, for many years. We have to deal with the winter, gray skies, cold. It's depressing. We don't see the sun for sometimes weeks or even months. But we know that 3 months from now, there'll be sunshine and there'll be warmth and the season will change. So our goal of life is beyond this happiness and distress. Our goal of life is selfless service to Krishna and experiencing the joy of serving Krishna out of love. The idea of love is service without selfless consideration. This is bhakti. Movies speak of love, romance novels speak of love, the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita speak of love. Is it all the same? No. Nija dukkha dignatira nagare icha. In every relationship, activity, and performance of duty, there will be 4 experiences. 1 is scarcity, 2 is impediment, discomfort, and unhappiness. At that point, there's a test, whether our relationship is based on selfishness or selflessness. When we experience scarcity, when we come across an impediment, when we experience discomfort or unhappiness, our determination to continue on in that relationship is severely shaken and tested. If we are really selfless, we continue in spite of all these difficulties and all these impediments, and that is called love. Love means when one is only concerned with the smile on the face of their beloved. That is what bhakti is all about. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, come, you have to fight. Do not worry about all these things that you're thinking about based on your own mental speculation. You have to fight for my pleasure. The temporary nature of this world is such that you have to overcome this. Therefore, to understand the difference between permanent and temporary spiritual knowledge is very important. And Srila Prabhupada translated the Bhagavad Gita as it is. He spent a lot of his time translating and writing purports for his books. These books are succinctly written so clearly so people coming in contact with these books understand what is knowledge and what is ignorance. There was once a boy in Brazil. He wanted to get a Sanskrit tattoo because he liked the script, but he didn't really understand Sanskrit, and he thought he would put 2 of the best verses from Bhagavad Gita, one on each arm. And his father had Bhagavad Gita at home, so he didn't know what were the 2 best verses, and he needed to know, so he would know what tattoo to get on his arm in case his friends asked, what did you have written there? So he read through the whole Gita to find the most important 2 verses. And in the process, Krishna tattooed his heart. He got transformed and became a devotee because this knowledge is so powerful. It puts us beyond the realm of temporary happiness and distress, pain and pleasure, and puts us in touch with eternal spiritual reality. Agama bayino nityas, tam pradikshas vabhavaka. So the Bhagavad Gita is full of knowledge that will help us tolerate distress and experience joy. Agama, Abhayana, Anidya. All of these distresses will come and go, but it is temporary. When there's a storm and we are standing under a shelter, we should be convinced that it will come to pass. It is temporary. That gives us the faith and determination to tolerate. Dikshasta Bharata. There's 2 interesting names of Arjuna and Krishna mentions them in this verse. Kaunteya. Arjuna, see how much your mother Kunti tolerated right from childhood. She had a baby, she was a widow at young age, all kinds of distresses, so many attacks on her children, Pandavas. But then she prays, my dear Lord, please keep giving me all these calamities so I can keep giving you mercy, your darshan. Taking care of 5 children with no husband, she went through calamity after calamity, but she never stopped thinking of Krishna. Many times when we come to spiritual life and start chanting Hare Krishna and follow the process, we think all our problems will go away. But many times we may feel our problems are increasing. Yudhishthira Maharaj told Krishna, if anyone reads about our life story, they may become fearful because we are your devotees, yet we were put into so many kinds of distresses. Krishna had such a close relationship with Pandavas, yet they had so many struggles. Therefore, the Pandavas went through so many difficulties, and Krishna has reminded Arjuna that you are the son of Kunti Putra. Matra Sparshas Kaunteya. Your mother has tolerated so much, so why can't you follow the example that she set for you? Did you learn the lessons from her? The second, Damstikshas Bharata is the second name. You're coming from such a noble ancestry. They have tolerated so much from the past. Why can't you tolerate in the course of achieving this victory? We should know that modern education is helping us to develop the right skills. Krishna, through the Bhagavad Gita, is helping us to develop the right will. Once we have the right combination of skill and will, only then we can achieve success. Attitude determines altitude. So the Bhagavad Gita is revealing that someone like Arjuna, who had such control over his actions, who had such powers of concentration, even he could be subjected to such kinds of self-doubts, that he lost his confidence in his own ability, and he was not clear about what he's supposed to do. So he puts down his bow and his arrows right down in front of Krishna. And Lord Krishna is very clearly demonstrating to Arjuna, my dear Arjuna, you have to tolerate these 4 things. What are these 4 things? The first one is urges. We have anger, lust, greed, envy. Anger will come, anger will go. The forces of lust will attack, but the forces of lust will go. One will feel greedy, but the force of greed will eventually subside. We can be a witness to all these urges, and we have to purify to overcome them. When one is overwhelmed by emotions, it's extremely difficult. So you have to tolerate the urges. Anger, greed, lust, envy. All these urges keep shaking us all the time. The second is dualities. All kinds of dualities will keep coming. Happiness, distress, pain, pleasure, success, failure. Relationships will go through so many dualities, so many difficulties. One has to tolerate these dualities all the time because what is good at one point is not so good at another point. Sometimes the progress will be fast, sometimes it will be slow. But we have to tolerate all these dualities. There is differences of opinion. There are always various opinions, different ways of doing the same thing, different thoughts on the same subject, different ways of looking at the same thing. If I put up a picture here of a glass, or hold up a glass, and it's halfway filled with water, and I ask you, is it half filled or half empty? I will get so many different people saying one answer or the other. We're looking at the same thing. Many times, if we are unable to tolerate these differences, relationships just break down. There's only one thing that will help sustain relationships. Is it thinking of my way or the highway, right? No, it's tolerance. So unless we have the ability to tolerate, it's impossible to sustain relationships. Because there will always be multiple opinions. Someone told Srila Prabhupada, I'm unable to deal with this person, I'm unable to deal with that person. There are so many opinions. And Srila Prabhupada said, very good news. That means the Mayavadi philosophy is wrong. Because Mayavadi philosophy is everything is one. So that means that we are all unique individuals, and we have to tolerate opinions. And the fourth is other success. We have to tolerate seeing our own friends superseding us, becoming more empowered, more affluent, more successful, more glorious. In the material example, It's like, I think all of us are at the age where we've taken exams. And sometimes we study with friends, and they get better grades with us than us. Sometimes they don't even study and get better grades than us. When you apply for school, and you apply to the top schools, and you see your friends get into the top schools, and you don't. So that is something we have to tolerate. It's difficult to see our friends succeed and go by us. Even in spiritual life here in the temple, sometimes we come at the same time we start coming here to the temple, we start hearing the same philosophy, and we start doing service, and suddenly somebody who started with you is moving along the fast track, is taking initiation, is doing service up on the altar, and you're still in the same place. And so it's hard to see your peers get ahead of you. Duryodhana was one who could not handle others' success, and he's a good example from the Mahabharata. You can see how he could not tolerate at all the success of the Pandavas. He spent his entire life fighting for the wrong cause, and the wrong cause of making a false attempt to protect his own false ego. It said that Duryodhana would not let anyone carry even an umbrella in the warm months in the summer. Why? Because he couldn't tolerate that even the umbrella was above him. It was taking a position higher than him. So he was always envious and trying to fight against the Pandavas. You see, so many things in this world make it 10 times worse because we don't know the art of tolerance. Nowadays, whenever something is wrong, if there's a problem, there's some difficulty, we want to try to immediately do something about it. Has anyone ever been, hopefully not, but bitten by a leech? Or hopefully not, okay. I can say I have not either, but I've seen in movies, somebody goes into the water and they come out with all these leeches on their body, or maybe in the old days, I've seen in movies that they use leeches to help cure ailments. So just like the leech, if it digs into your skin to suck the blood, once it's dug in there, would you pull it off? No, because if you pull it off at that point, you're going to make the situation 10 times worse because the fangs have gone in, and therefore you have to accept that now you just have to tolerate. And then once it takes its fangs out, then you can remove the leech. Many things in life we have to learn to tolerate like this, because if we try to solve it, if we try to change it, we try to fulfill it, we'll actually get ourselves into 10 times more problems. Therefore, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, don't feel the need to be impelled to always respond to the stimulus of this world. Learn the art of tolerance. We have to tolerate nature because one type of misery comes from nature. We have to tolerate other people because sometimes you may experience misery from other people. Actually, the main thing we have to tolerate is our own mind. That's the biggest source of disturbance. The mind can turn heaven into hell and hell into heaven. There's a story in the 11th canto about the Avanti Brahmin. And he looked at his life and he was wondering, I suffered so much. Then after thinking about it, he realized why he suffered so much in his life. And he says in a very beautiful song, he said, I look back at my life and I was wondering, why did I suffer? I used to think other people were the cause of my suffering, and I was wrong. Later on, I thought maybe the devas or the gods were against me, and they were causing my suffering. I was wrong. Later on, I thought it was the alignment of the planets. My astrology was not good. I was wrong. Later on, I thought that it was my karma. I was wrong. Later then, I thought the cause of my suffering was Kala, time, because in time, everyone suffers. I was wrong. He said, none of this is the cause of my suffering. There's only one cause of my own suffering. What's that? Mind. The mind, mana. The ultimate cause, the root cause. The original cause is my own mind. No other force besides its own mental confusion makes the soul experience happiness and distress. Because of that mind, the cycle is in samsara and is perpetuated. So Krishna says to Arjuna, you have to learn to tolerate the mind. Here, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, in Bhagavad Gita, so many desires will come, and if you feel the need to satisfy every single desire, if you feel the need to act on every single desire, if you feel the need to pursue every single desire, then you're going to get yourself into a lot of trouble. Some desires just have to be ignored, some desires have to be followed in a very regulated way, and some can be transformed and be spiritual. In this way, we have to learn the art of how to manage our own desires. So many ideas, so many thoughts, desires, plans will come into our mind, but realize that sometimes you just have to tolerate the many things that are coming to your mind. And in this way, don't become overwhelmed by everything. Because if you try and satisfy every desire of your life, it will become incredibly complex. And in that complexity, you will miss the real aim of life. So to summarize, we saw how Krishna became Arjuna's guru, and what is his first instruction that he gave to Arjuna? Tolerate. We learned how distress arises from the expectation that sense interactions will always produce pleasure. Happiness and distress are temporary, like the coming and the going of the seasons. Intelligent person understands this impermanence, which gives one strength and hope to tolerate difficulties, knowing that in time, this phase will also pass. We have to tolerate four things: urges, dualities, differences of opinion, and others' success. The main thing we have to tolerate is the mind, which is our biggest source of suffering. The Bhagavad Gita begins and ends with the message, do not lament. It is full of knowledge that will help us tolerate distress and experience joy. So please, if you don't have a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, you can pick one up today. You can visit our gift shop and get one because it is full of transcendental knowledge. And you will not regret anything that you will learn from this book, which is very relevant to you today. And also, this Saturday, we have a class starting right here at the Mandir in Detroit. It is going to be the first session given by His Grace Krishna Prabhu, who is very successful materially and a very wonderful spiritual leader and wonderful speaker. If you've never heard him, please come. It's 5:30. The class is titled Timeless Wisdom for Today, Gita Teachings for Everyone. So if you would like to study and discuss in an interactive way the Bhagavad Gita, please come this Saturday starting at 5:30. And then there will be the opportunity to enjoy a feast together afterwards. If you have any questions, you can please see HG Prabhu or mataji. But please come if you have any interest in learning more about the Bhagavad Gita. So I would like to just say thank you very much for tolerating me today. Please forgive me if I misspoke anything and put you in any distress by listening to me for the last hour when I could have been doing so many other things. If you would please take pleasure in enjoying the Sunday feast that is going to be served in a few minutes, and take the association of all the wonderful devotees who are present here. If you have any questions about tolerance, you can see the expert, which is my husband, who has been tolerating me for the last 30 years. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Anyone have any corrections or comments? Again, I'm very unqualified to be here, so there is a room full of more advanced words than me.
Very wonderful class.
Thank you. Yes, brother.
You were talking about that we have to tolerate the mind. So thank you for your class, it's very nice. But we have only have to tolerate the mind, or we control the mind. When the mind is not controlled, we cannot tolerate, and it's embarrassing. So can you make some more explanation about that?
So, I guess in terms of tolerating the mind, it's more of the urges that come in, it's our desires, because we are affected with so many desires, and we get, and like I talked about the four urges, we get one thing, we're not satisfied, and we keep wanting more. And these are all mostly material desires. So, if we can categorize, like I think I mentioned, our desires, if you can look at it as, there's an example that I heard about a fruit. If you're offering an apple to Krishna, so if you can cut out some of those desires that can be ignored and that lead away from Krishna, if you can take some of the other desires, like if you're washing the apple, wash those away and find a way to engage them in Krishna's conscious way, and then the other desires that are inherently good, they should be embraced. So that is how you can help kind of manage the desires. But again, the challenge is how to differentiate and respond appropriately.
Actually, I state the mind is like a comfortable kids. When the kids is very comfortable, it's like the mind. It's uncomfortable. So the mind is so much. So how to make the mind, your friend is by putting under the control of the mind, Krishna, Krishna. So when I talk about that, I don't try to show off to people, oh, I'm delusional. My mind always gives me enough time.
Mm-hmm.
It's so that you know, I kind of appreciate you talk about that because that's very important. That's what causes a lot of problem in our society, that they control mind. So,
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, I feel like the topic of the mind is not going to really go there because that could be a whole other class about how to conquer this mind and keep it from always being so restless. Anyone have anything else? Thank you again so much.